and I'm also the president and CEO of Alset Energy, ION on the Venture Exchange, a lithium exploration company. And I have an excellent guest today in Peter Epstein. He is with Epstein Research. Thank you very much for joining us, Peter.
Thanks for having me, Alan.
Now, this is a bit of a long overdue conversation, Peter. You and I spend a fair bit of time on a investment website called CEO.ca. I really think a lot of that. How about you on that website, Peter?
I like it very much too. I think I was one of the early adapters, probably with you,
Yes.
going back over a year. In fact, I wrote an article about Tommy Humphreys early on, and it's on my website, epsteinresearch.com, and it was kind of a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek.
Well, actually, Peter, as we're talking, we're on a screen share, and I have your website up for the folks to look at, and they can just search around in there and find the article on Tommy, but then also a lot of the other pieces that you write as well. Correct. Peter?
That's correct. My website, I only post one or maybe two articles or written interviews per week. So I'm not very prolific, but on the other hand, I feel like that way my free subscribers are not inundated with articles that they don't need to see.
Well, Peter, I've kind of been doing the same thing over my career for over the last 10 years that I've had the Alan Berry reports. And what I have always found is if they've given you their email, they want to hear from you. And as long as you put out good content, they want it. So, if you're putting it out 4 or 5 times a week, I'd let her rip. That's just my blogging insider kind of advice there, Peter.
Yes, I am thinking about putting out more stuff, so that's points well taken.
Thank you. Well, now, the reason that I wanted to get you on the show today, Peter, is you were a real early guy in these lithium plays. You picked a bunch of them, including Lithium X, much earlier than before the crowd got there. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about that and why you did that and some of the things you're looking for now. And then it's in the context of the company that I'm the president and CEO of, which is Alset Energy. It just had important news release out yesterday of the lab results from a series of sampling that we did on 3 of the lithium bearing salars in the central Mexican plateau. And so I kind of wanted to talk to you about those things today, Peter. So why don't we start with some your early efforts into lithium? What got you in there early?
Well, I think like most people, I saw some of the trends developing in lithium-ion batteries, and especially electric vehicles. I have a friend who got a Tesla a couple of years ago, so fairly early on. But before I continue, Lithium X is not one that I was involved in early on. Daejeon Resources is really the one I started writing about early.
Oh, sorry, I got them mixed up there.
Yeah, that's fine. And Daejeon, I actually wrote an article about them, I think, 2 days ago. So.
And that's on your website right now.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Got it.
And so what happened was, sometimes I like to write things to sort of, crystallize them in my mind. And the theory about lithium-ion battery just seems pretty intuitive, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to say, of course, people think that there's going to be a need for lithium, but let me, dive deeper into it. Because if you look online, some of these government reports, they start talking about supply and demand out to the year 2025. And that stuff I think is kind of useless.
Yeah.
Who could possibly go out that far and have any idea?
Well, and then, Peter, that's not unique to lithium.
Oil and gas will go out to 2035.
Right.
Uranium 2035.
Yeah, right.
So that kind of stuff I think is kind of useless.
Yeah.
But, I just found that there was an incredibly large number of uses for lithium-ion batteries that weren't even being talked about. You talk about cars, you talk about energy storage, but then there was all these things, gaming consoles, consumer electronics, of course, but power tools, forklifts, and a lot of equipment in industrial uses, and even like electric bikes. I wrote something about China having 200 million bikes, of which only about 10 million were electric bikes. They had lead acid bikes before that.
Yeah.
So every week you see some sort of new use for lithium, and when you add it all up, obviously it's going to be a big amount.
Yeah, and I was
Tobacco.
taken aback recently when I read a piece that there's only about 50% of the investment has gone into the supply chain compared to what the demand increases that are right in front of us.
Yes, yes, and you know, I could go on and on about the demand side just from electric vehicles alone, and it's not only electric vehicles anymore; it's now the whole transportation fleet.
Well,
They
not
talk
only
about
that,
how
Peter, look at what they've just like in the last 6 months, what's evolved, with the gigafactory and the solar tiles and capturing energy and being able to store it in your wall. Um, these things are coming, like you say, out of left field, and they're what they come out with left field is pretty remarkable.
yeah, and I think the rate of change is only going to get go higher and higher. It's not like these things are going to fall by the wayside. Some people are worried about lithium ion not being the battery chemistry that lasts in the long run, but I think there's room for a lot of different things. And speaking of recent news, this week I keep on seeing things about how 2 million truck drivers are going to lose their jobs when you have driverless trucks. And these driverless trucks are going to be electric. There's no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think demand side's there. Supply side is very, very shaky. It's not just for lithium. The supply side for cobalt, as we know,
Yeah,
it's a little bit dicey.
very.
But I think that it's going to take some time. And I'm a big adherent to Joe Lowry, who I think a lot of people probably know.
I follow him on. If they don't, they should follow him on Twitter like I do. He's Joe
By the way,
Lowry.
I think it's even better to follow him on LinkedIn.
Okay.
But Twitter's good.
Okay. Thank you for that.
No problem.
Yeah.
And,
By the way,
I interviewed him a couple times over the years.
By the way, his name is Joe, and then Lowry is Lowry, I believe. And you can find him on Twitter, and then go to LinkedIn, as Peter says, because I have stumbled across a couple of his articles that he posted on LinkedIn.
Yeah, he's one of the best experts out there. Chris Berry is good, and of course Simon Moore's at Benchmark. They're all good. Joe is very generous to put out information that's both timely and very top notch, because he's obviously a consultant and he can sell his information, but he will put out a lot of good stuff for free.
Right. Right. So yeah, he's definitely one to keep an eye on, and ion. There we go. I seem to have that ION and ion on my mind a lot these days, Peter. As you can imagine, I was pretty excited about the results we reported yesterday. It was significantly higher grade than what they're looking at down in Nevada, and up there with some of the stuff down in the lithium triangle. So
yes.
we have a lot more work to do, but there's a couple of interesting kickers to it. There's high grade potassium in there as well, and Mexico currently imports all of its potassium, and that's crucial to their farming industry. And so I think that's one interesting kicker. But another of the interesting kickers was in all of the samples, they all came out with silver as well, up to 4 grams.
Right.
So, it's worth noting that this region of Mexico is host to it's like the central largest silver district in the world. It's where the Fresnillo mine is and stuff. So we're in an area where there's a lot of the right kind of geological events happening for silver. Same processes go into lithium, and so we're looking pretty good for what my focus is on is that the gigafactory is not going to have enough lithium coming from Nevada. It's too low grade. There's not enough of it there. Water issues, other issues. Then the next nearest source is way down in the lithium triangle. Central Mexican plateau is a lot nearer, and we also benefit from being right beside roads and power in a mining friendly jurisdiction. So it's shaping up to be quite an exciting start to our analysis of this sort of chemical soup that we have of a lithium of a salt lake or salar, and but the early stages are quite exciting.
Yeah, I think you guys are onto something. I looked at your corporate presentation a couple days ago, actually in conjunction with the news that came out. And first of all, I think your presentation is really good, and I think you hit it on the head with North American brine production for Tesla. And if it's not Nevada, where is it going to come from? It's going to be possibly central Mexico. So a first mover advantage in any large potential basin is really attractive.
Well, especially when you add in also that it's a place that's there because of mining, and it's a mining friendly place, and we've got the silver kicker as well. No, I'm pretty stoked about what we've seen so far, and what I'm most excited about, Peter, is getting on there and being able to. You see, I've spent a lot of my career in looking for diamonds and gold. And half the battle there is to determine where it is, right? In these salt lakes, you can do your exploration with Google Earth. It's quite refreshing, and why that's also important is it also affords us an opportunity that we rarely get in diamonds or in gold, is to be able to quickly go in and bulk sample it and do a thorough grid and get an idea of what the whole chemical soup looks like, if you will. And so that's what really excites me, is that we've got off to a really good start, and now we have something to roll our sleeves up and really throw a lot of science at it, and we can get at that science really easily.
I agree.
So I'm going to ask you to keep an eye on my ion there, Peter. And so let's talk a little bit more about what you do, because I've got to let you go here pretty soon. You've got your website. I've got it up there now. I've had it up the whole time we've been talking. Actually, I meant to check out some other websites, but we just got talking. So you've got some sponsors of your website, which enables you to offer your email reports for free and all the work you do for free to your audience.
Correct.
It's the same model that I've had for years. And what are some of your sponsors? Why don't you give them a plug here, Peter?
Well, I recommend people read this Asian Resources article that I wrote, I guess, 2 days ago. You mentioned water rights in Nevada, especially in Clayton Valley. It's definitely a big concern. Asian has a property called Teal's March, and they have the water rights they need. They also have a large concession in Argentina, northern Argentina, which they have now farmed out to a private company called Lithium S Corp. Lithium S Corp is going to be public, I think, in January. And then Lithium S Corp is working with Energy, ENIRGI, which is a giant specialty chemicals company owned by the Sentient Group. So,
and the Sentient Group, they're down in Australia or something like that. And they're
based in Australia, but they're making a big move into lithium, and they decided that Argentina is going to be where they place their bet.
Now, those guys, that's an interesting group in itself, Peter. I remember they were very early into a lot of serious gold plays before the gold took off back in the last gold bull market.
That's right. They're early and they're patient and they have deep pockets. It's a $2.7 billion resource fund, basically, that's backing energy.
and
and
they're big
and
into lithium now.
Dagen has basically hitched their wagon to LSC, which is the private company, and Energy. So if Energy makes it in northern Argentina, it's really looking good for Dagen.
Okay.
Whereas before, if Dagen tried to go it alone, they would have the same problems as any junior. Capital raises every 6 months and lots of uncertainty and trying to deal with the bureaucracy.
Right. Okay. So that's one of your sponsors, and you got a few others there too, Peter?
Yeah, I do. I mean, since we're talking about lithium, I should mention Critical Elements Corp.
You know, right away before you even start that, I was talking to a friend of mine who's a well-known newsletter writer just yesterday, and one thing we were talking about is that with what's Trump in power, that he and I both believe that this critical, secure supply stories are going to become more and more important as we go forward. With the wrong tweet, he can, create a ripple effect into some of these small, commodities that don't have big markets, quite significantly.
Well, it's funny you say that because on Friday I posted an article on Ucore rare metals, and the big thing with Ucore is that obviously the vast majority, maybe 90% or more, of rare earth production and processing happens in China. So my article said that, look, if China and the U.S. ever really go at it, it's not going to be good for rare earths, and therefore it's going to be bad for the U.S. military.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm oversimplifying it.
So you're on the same page.
About an hour after I posted the article, Trump had that phone call with the leader of
Taiwan.
Yeah. And it was funny because it was literally an hour apart. And I was thinking, this could be it. But of course, it was downplayed, which was good for everybody.
Well, I think that's going to come into play a lot more in the future. Before I let you go,
absolutely,
I got to ask you one other company here because I've been keeping an eye on this one. Nano One is another of your sponsors. The reason that I've been keeping an eye on it, Peter, is the head guy at that company is a local guy here that owns a golf course, and one of my best friends also owns a company called the King of Floors, and his family also owns a golf course. So they've kind of been golf course owner buddies for years. And so that got me interested in Nano One, and then obviously the people that are involved, continued to pique my interest. Why don't you tell us a little about that sponsor?
Yes, I would be happy to. So Nano One's interesting. They are sort of technology agnostic. Everyone thinks that they're a lithium play, and they are to some extent, but it doesn't matter if it's the battery chemistry is predominantly lithium, or it could be, anything else that's on the in the materials. That they basically have a process and a technology where they could make things cheaper. So a battery maker could sort of outsource a recipe to Nano One in order to make in a more efficient manner, and then they can make that particular recipe or materials in a larger scale and sell it to more than one.
So they're battery guys. They're like the operating system guys, sort of. They're the battery guys that, regardless of what you end up putting in the battery, they want to make the batteries. But I think the trend is going in a certain direction where they're probably going to be making lithium-ion batteries for the foreseeable future.
Right, but lithium-ion batteries have a lot of components besides lithium.
Right.
And for example, they came out with a material that was cobalt-free.
Wow.
Because of obviously the problem with cobalt.
Yeah.
And they're trying to find buyers to incorporate that material into lithium-ion battery chemistries.
That's impressive.
It's really interesting stuff.
I'm going to look more into that one. I'm kind of a science geek, Peter, so I'm going to look closer into that. That's some pretty interesting stuff. So where can folks find you, Peter? Just Epstein Research on CEO.ca and on your website, and get on your email list?
Yeah, often I'll put articles that I do often in other places besides just Epstein Research. I can put them on equities.com, Stockhouse, Seeking Alpha, places like that. I just kind of spread them out every place I can get them on.
But if somebody's on your email list, they'll know where your stuff is and where to find it, right?
Well, my email list, they'll only direct people to Epstein Research. Equities.com,
Okay.
And that'll see Stockhouse, you'll see the article or the places like that. I just kind of spread them out that way.
Okay,
Every
well,
place I
there
can
we
get them
go.
on.
If somebody's on your email list,
Peter, I
they'll
really
know where
appreciate
your
you coming
stuff
on
is
and giving
where
us
to
a
find
little
it,
bit of
right?
education
my email
about
list,
Lithium, you know, when I got into this mining business in '93, it was mainly just about gold and precious metals and not much else.
Well, there we go.
But if
That's
somebody's
on
on
your
your
email
email
list,
list,
Peter, I
they'll
really
know
appreciate
where
you
your
coming
stuff
on and
is
giving
where
us
to
a little
find
bit
it,
of
right?
education
My email
about
list,
White oil, you know, when I got into
that
this mining business,
you
know,
know,
the oil barons of the future,
about gold and
and you
metals
know, and not much
well,
else.
there we go.
But if
That's
somebody's
on
on
your
your
world
email,
where
Peter, I really
know where
appreciate
your
you
stuff
coming on
is
and giving
where
us
to
a little
find
bit
it,
of
right?
education
My email
about
list,
white
quite
oil,
exciting
when
and
I
I
got
see
into
that
this mining
these-
business,
you're
you
knee
know,
deep
the
into
oil
it.
barons of the future,
about gold and
and you know,
better.
and
I'm
not
next
much
to
else.
there we go. That's somebody's on your world.
Peter, I really appreciate you coming on and giving us well, that has turned around.
Quite exciting
when I
and
got
I see
into
that
mining,
you're
knee
knee
deep
deep
into
into
oil
it.
barons. I'm gonna have to get you on again. That's kind of a teaser. We'll talk precious metals.
Somebody's on your world.
Peter, thank you for joining us, Peter, and I'm going to wrap things up. That has turned around.
Quite exciting and I see
You have a wonderful day.
So there you go, folks.
I'm going to have to get you on again as guest. And teaser will talk thank you for joining us, Peter, and I'm going to wrap things up. That has turned around. So you have a wonderful day. So there you go, folks. I'm going to have to get you on again as guest. And teaser will talk thank you for joining us, Peter, and I'm going to wrap things up. That has turned around. So you have a wonderful day. So there you go, folks. I'm going to have to get you on again as guest. And teaser will talk Premier Gold thank you for joining us, Peter, and I'm going to wrap things up. That has turned around. So there you go, folks. I'm going to have to get you on again as guest. West Ridley Gold Mines is Premier Gold thank you for joining us, Peter, and I'm going to wrap things up. So there you go, folks. I'm going to have to get you on again as guest. West Ridley Gold Mines is Premier Gold thank you for joining us, Peter, and I'm going to wrap things up. I also want to thank so there you go, folks. West Ridley Gold Mines is an audience to talk to. That means a lot to me. And if you're seeing this show for the first time, make sure and come to my website and sign up for my free emails as well. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you.